I can't build your culture. I'm not here to say this is culture, this is what we're doing. It comes from you guys as well. And it's an education thing.
Hi, and welcome to Thrivalism, Interaction's podcast focused on the art of thriving, flourishing, and evolving under any conditions. For this episode, we caught up with Lucy Sunner, Head of Culture at Autocab. Lucy is passionate about the role company culture can play in both the success of a company and the lives of individuals. Previously a community manager at WeWork, Lucy joined Autocab at a particularly interesting time, just as the pandemic shifted the teams to remote working and the company was acquired by Uber. We had a great conversation on the benefits a focus on culture can bring to an organisation, the importance of rituals and communication, and what advice she'd give other businesses wanting to harness the power of their own culture. It's a great chat, and I hope you enjoy it. Lucy, welcome to Thrivalism. It's great you've joined us.
Thanks so much. Thanks for the intro and inviting me along.
Good to have you here. So, Lucy, just for our audience, explain to us who Autocab are, and also, how did your career lead you to be head of culture, and how's that process gone?
Gosh, what a journey. What a journey to go on. Well, I'll kick it off with who Autocab are. Like you said, we've been going for around over 30 years now. So it's a well-established company. We actually design and develop the taxi and dispatch software system for taxis across the UK. We're also global, so we're based in Europe and Australia as well. So we've got a nice little team over there, which is quite fun to deal with for me. And I guess we are on quite a fast-paced journey, like you mentioned. So we've just gone through a bit of an acquisition with Uber, which is so exciting for us. So we're sort of partnering with Uber and launching a local cab feature on their app. So they're going to actually utilise our iGo platform on their app so they can have our customers on the app and people and their customers can book through them. So a bit of sort of long-winded way of saying it, but yeah. So I think Autocab are quite well established. We've got over 125 UK staff, and we've got around 20 employees in Europe and 2 in Australia. And my career journey, well, like I said, it's been a bit of a ride, really. I started off in hospitality. And I fell into that after university. I love meeting new people. I love chatting. That's key to what I do, and that's one of my passions. So I ended up sort of managing for a large hospitality retailer, I guess, in the UK. And I became a general manager quite young. And I think from there I was like, hey, hang on a second. I haven't really explored the world. I've managed teams, but I would quite like to do a bit of traveling. So as you do, I thought I'd move out to Australia and get my working holiday visa. And I ended up getting sponsored out there through hospitality management again. So I was managing a large wedding venue out there in Sydney. And I lived out there for about 3 years, and that was so fun. And I think that's where the basis of my management skills developed. And I was managing very diverse teams as well. So I was getting used to different cultures within that environment, which was so exciting. And then I came back to the UK. I missed my family so much. It's so far for my mum to come out and see us. So, we moved back. And then I wanted to live in London. So I ended up moving there and getting like a hospitality management job again. But I knew my time in hospitality was sort of over. I knew my passions were slowly dying for that. I'd done it for a number of years. So I wanted to explore new avenues, whether it was in retail or customer service, or, I think at that point I was a bit lost. I was like, where can I go from here? And randomly, a girl that I worked with said, have you ever heard of WeWork? And I said, no idea. And then I sort of popped online. She said, they're hiring, that they're growing at a fast pace. I know you would be a great fit for them. And I went online, and it was like this new world of office space and development of, little startups that were getting these sort of one-person offices and these gorgeous buildings in London. And I thought, I really want to try and get involved with this. So I just sent across my CV on the off chance and got a group interview. And I landed a job for them in their sort of largest building at the time. I think when I started with them, they only had 6 or 7 buildings in London. So I was really a key part of that growth team for WeWork at that point. And I was with them in London for about a year. And then New Manchester was on the radar for them in opening up 2 sites there. In there's one in Spinningfields and St Peter's Square in Manchester city centre. So for me, I wanted to come back up north. Yeah, it just made sense family-wise as well. And I said to them, hey, I'd love to go up there and open up your WeWorks in Manchester. And they said, yep, you've been a great employee. So I was the starting team for them across in Manchester. And that's when I delved into sales. That's when I started getting networking. That's when I really grew the brand and understood, I guess, the culture of WeWork at that time. And yeah, from there, sort of grew their community, and my role was sort of community management. So I was growing. We had over 1,000 members within the building that I worked in. So very busy, and I love to be busy. I can't not be. So yeah, from there, then I was approached about this role, head of culture. And for me, growing teams, even when I was in hospitality management, is something that I've loved to do, and I've been successful in it. I know sweet spots that work. I get different, diverse teams. And I thought, you know what, I want to take a step back into that direction. I was aiming, when I was at WeWork, I was sort of looking at sales a little more. So I wanted to pull back in that area and think, where are my passions, and be a bit selfish about my career journey. And head of culture sounds like quite a unique role, really, doesn't it? It's so new nowadays. So that's where we're at. I went for the interview and got it. So it's exciting.
So I understand that Uber, during the kind of acquisition, suggested that the head of culture role would be useful for Autocab. Yeah. So I suppose to kind of put the pieces in that journey, how did they receive that information, and how did they then get their heads around that and think about the transformation that's obviously taking place to the point where you're on board?
Yeah. I think, honestly, for me to look at an executive team or a board of people that are running a company, these 4 guys have been on such a journey with Autocab, because they've been operating the same way for 25, 30 years. And then Uber, this huge tech company that's grown at a rapid pace, and now saying these are the sort of roles that we want you to have in place. And them even thinking about culture or what it is, they had no idea whatsoever. They thought, what is this weird role that you're popping in? And I guess for me, the interview process was very much, what do I think? They were asking me, what do you think culture is? And they were learning from, my experience from WeWork and building teams in hospitality. And they really wanted to understand it. They wanted to see how it merged with HR as well. So there's a lot of sort of crossover there, how that's going to pan out. They wanted me to put together a bit of a plan of how I would investigate our current culture and how I would help that grow, rather than coming in and changing it straight away, which I think would have been a bit of a failure for me. I really needed to understand where they're at the moment. So I've been quite lucky, I guess, because I've had a lot of autonomy about how this role goes. And they've been very open to my suggestions. There's nothing that's been, I'm spending loads of money, or no, that's completely the opposite direction of where we want to go. I've been quite strategic in the events that I'm putting in place, in the budget that we need and the things that we're buying for it. And I think the fact that they've given me a lot of trust has made me feel quite positive about our journey and the direction that we're going. And the other thing that happened was, obviously, we were in the middle of a pandemic. So they were thinking, how are you going to do this in a pandemic? But I love a challenge. So I just thought, I'll take it. And WeWork, I had a bit of experience doing meetings virtually. Everyone sort of, it was a global employees there. So for me, I was like, you know what, I can do this. I know I can do it. But it's been, I guess, sort of a bit of a convincing journey for them, like sort of saying to them, right, this is what I'm going to do, and this is the outcome of what's going to happen from that, or these are things we're going to take from it and grow and build into our culture.
Yes, I'm really interested how a business which is clearly successful and been going a long time, and it has a culture, whether or not they recognise that because of the way they run the business, but of course it has a culture, and that culture has bred some success. So how do you extract what the culture is? How do you make sure you stay true to the roots of it, but also allow it to scale? And I suppose we talked a little bit about the management there, but equally like the team, like, did they understand what you were coming to do? And were they receptive to it, or did they feel that they were being invested in?
It was really, really daunting. I mean, I'm not someone to shy away from change. I've always been sort of an implementer and a manager of growing teams. So I quite like leading. And it was clear in this role, it needed someone strong who will take, there's going to be knockbacks. So I was keen on that. I knew that the business had been operating for a long time the way it had. I knew they were going to go through a lot of change. So it was a good time to join. But first things first, what I did was just get in there and just say, hey, I'm jumping onto this video call today, or hey, can I jump into this stand-up today? I'd love to just introduce myself, or just sit in and see what you're working on or how you guys interact. And you've got to be quite forceful in how you do things. A lot of people were like, oh God, what's this woman doing here? I don't know what she is. But it's almost, making people not feel nervous and say, I want to understand who Autocab are. And the first thing I found out is that previously it was a family-run business. So this idea of family has trickled down into every area of Autocab. And it was such a gorgeous story that it's come from, and the journey that they've been on, the growth. So I knew there was a lot of people that were very passionate. There's people that have been there for over 15, 20 years. And I've come from a background where it's very, flexible with people coming in and out the door. So it was a bit of an eye-opener. I was like, wow, you've been here for 20 years and you know that journey. But it's those people that I sort of wanted to have those one-on-ones with and say, how's your time been at Autocab? Tell me about how you started. So I've just made time to get to know everybody on a level. And that family aspect, I wanted to continue with the culture that now as we grow. So we call ourselves the Autocab family. When we do things like we do a monthly stand-up, we have a welcome to the Autocab family section where we do all the new starters and we do an interesting fact about them and things like that. And I think that will grow, and the story of Autocab and the journey they've been at, that needs to be told now, even for new starters, as we continue, or we drip through feed that into events or discussional events that I do as well. So that was my main thing.
I'm going to say, when you kind of were trying to understand those values and kind of the principles that how they work, when you presented those, I'm guessing you would present them back to them to okay, this is the direction we're going.
Yeah.
Is it something that you found easy to get people to recognise, or was it kind of a bit more of a challenge for you to recognise it? Or I don't know. Yeah.
I asked for a lot of advice, I guess. I think I spoke to a lot of different departments within Autocab, and I said, values-wise, that's something that we've worked on and I've launched since being in this role as well for Autocab. I think within the first month, I said, look, this is what I want to do. I want to launch some values, but I need to get to know the business and see what works. So I did liaise a lot with the team, and I think that's essential when you are launching values as well. You've got to take a lot of inspiration from what they're doing. And then it was the presentation to the board at the time, which I was so nervous about because I thought, gosh, I'm telling you about your company and how it looks to me, a new starter. So that's quite nerve-wracking. And what I said to them was, these are ones that I've seen, and not all of them I see them performed all the time that I've been, within this month. But I see them there and they're bubbling away. We just need to nurture them. We need to grow them. So, one of our values is collaborative. Collaborative is a great one for us because we have so many different departments. That's how we develop our products. We have a research and development team that work quite closely to support, and that's how they grow our products and get feedback. But there's areas that can grow there. I see other teams that don't communicate with, many others within the business. And I think, okay, how could it benefit them if they were talking to sales, for example? What could they learn from sales? And there's so much that they could all learn from each other. So I sort of said to the board, they're a work in progress. And I think they got that, and they wanted it as an introduction to values in general. And I think I had to put together other company values that have been launched as well as a way to say, this is good. This is a blueprint for our team. This is how we should go. So
I know when we speak to people who have similar roles, there's this challenge that they have, that they become the curator of the culture. And how do you stop it being the kind of Lucy culture and keep it true to being the Autocab? And how do you check in that everybody's comfortable with what you're doing and understands, I suppose, what you're doing and understands the progress?
I am a massive keen bean on communication. I can't tell you, like I sometimes think, God, am I being a bit psycho? Am I over communicating? But I genuinely think it's benefited every single one of those employees, keeping up to date with what's going on, getting feedback, getting those pulse checks, I call them, every month we'll send out a quick, it only needs to be a maximum of 5 and 5 questions. And that I can gain a lot back from the team. How I stop it being the Lucy show is I really want to try and get other employees to try and run events. That's the main thing. So we've done a lot of sort of these fireside chat events, which are quite popular at the moment. So I've actually got other people to run them, or, it's fireside chat with two employees of Autocab, and we're going to learn about their passions today. And it's putting the onus back on them and say, you guys are part of the culture too. And it's something that I've sort of said in every single stand-up. I can't build your culture. I'm not here to say this is culture, this is what we're doing. It comes from you guys as well. And it's an education thing. A lot of people don't understand this role. So it's little sort of education pieces of providing a bit of a quote on what culture is, a very positive quote, and discussing that with the whole team. And I think, I've had some good feedback so far. So it's good to see it grow.
So you talked about pulse surveys and you mentioned fireside chats. And I mean, they're really good tools, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm interested as to how you use those pulse surveys. Do you ask the same questions every month, or do you and just use that as a sense check? And I suppose, how do the other tools and activities that you use fit in? And I suppose, what could people take from that?
Yeah. I think one thing's for sure, what I do is every month is sit down and think, okay, event plan. What am I doing? And events, or, what am I doing culture-wise? And I know every month I'm going to send this pulse check. I know I want to be doing like one event a week, whether it's even just like a breakfast group chat where anybody can join and we just have a get together and a cup of tea. If it's a fireside chat for Mental Health Awareness Week, whatever it is, I want to try and keep that connection with everybody, and I want them to feel happy about joining these events. So that's what I do. I set out a bit of a timetable for myself. Pulse check wise, how I launched it was doing different questions. So it's changed, as you can imagine, everything changes.
It's got to evolve.
Yeah. So I originally started thinking, okay, I'll do a different topic each month. And I thought I'll do 5 questions each time. And then I thought, no, maybe it needs to be a similar topic, or I just need to do 2 questions per month. And I've recently, there's a platform that I launched called Bonusly, which is a recognition platform. And they've just got a new feature called Signals, which is pulse check surveys. And for me, Bonusly is the culture platform. So I want to try and incorporate everything through there. So it's a pulse check survey, and I've started doing the same questions each month, and it's just 4 to 5 questions, and it's sent through that Bonusly platform, and it integrates with our Outlook. So it's quite easy to fill out. I mean, the engagement wise has been quite difficult. That's been challenging. But I think as people have started to trust me and they get, what I say I'm going to do, I'm not just here just for like fun events. There's a lot more that we're trying to work on. I've seen that engagement rise month by month, and it's that reporting on those sort of surveys is what I give to my executive team. And we can sort of always have a chat around, what did this comment mean? Or, we're averaging a 3 out of 5, what areas can we improve in? And again, overly communicating on everything. I sort of put together a plan on, this is what I'm going to be working on in June. And then we go back to that and we say, okay, what hasn't worked, what has worked? And it's very much trial and error. So much about trial and error. You can't take anything personally. And I think that's something I've learned as well in my career, but mostly in this role as well.
Yeah. It sounds like you talked about the communication between the teams, and that being a really important thing, because the culture is there, it's strong. It's just about making it kind of unified, I suppose.
Yeah.
And what did you do specifically around getting different departments, different people talking to each other? I mean, really challenging in a pandemic, as people are more separate than ever.
Yeah. Gosh, that was such a battle. And I thought, how am I going to integrate with all these different teams? And how are these people that have, they only speak to 2 or 3 people per day and they don't understand what our customer care department do? How are we going to do this? But what we did was something called Tea and Talks. And that was honestly one of the best things that we've featured as a company. So how it works is every week I schedule in like a 30-minute session and I randomly pick 6 employees across all the areas, and the executive team are included in that, myself, whoever. And then we just sit, we have a catch up. There is structure involved in it because I think everybody needs a little bit of structure because these things can be awkward if you're just jumping into a random call. So I sort of started it with an icebreaker question. So, what's your favourite colour and why? Or just something really like simple that people can just get behind. And that's when the chat starts flowing. But I would also integrate a bit of our work aspect in it. It wasn't just about fun. I wanted to know, what are you working on at the moment? And what was quite nice is I remember one week we had 2 people in a session and they'd been working in the office for about 10 years each and they'd never said hello to each other. And the office isn't, it's not huge. It's a 100-person office. And you think, you've been going to the same work every day and you haven't even just said hello. And I thought, wow, that's incredible.
Did you think that often we find, I suppose, that the leadership team have a different impression of how much everybody communicates with each other than the kind of like the people who are working there because of the way that communication lines run? Is that something you found at Autocab?
100%. Yeah. I think because, like I said, I've been quite open with, when I was being hired, I think the executive team that hired me, they didn't understand it and they were open about that. They said, we want you to come on board, we want you to help. But I think they sort of had it as, she'll be doing all the events, and they didn't really see what culture was. And I think, like you said, when people are managing up, it's hard to do that sometimes. And I think that there is a little bit of that in Autocab. People are nervous about sharing things, as I've been like that as well, with my managers. And they don't really see what's going on, in the departments. And what has been amazing is that I guess I've been that connection between the two. And it's just getting both areas to trust me, but also being professional about how I report those things to the executive team and giving them a solution to how we fix it. Or, it's going to take time, and giving them a time frame as well.
Do you think you're better now at recognizing, if you like in other tech businesses or other fast scaling businesses, are you better now at recognizing the signs or the stages or whatever it is where the role of head of culture becomes really, really important, or the personalities of the people involved? Is that something that you think now you could identify much more easily in another business organization?
I think so, yeah. And I think what's been quite nice is just having, like I said, so much autonomy, and it's allowed me to sort of learn at my own pace. There's been no pressure to say you need to perform at this rate. And I guess, I think sort of really honing in on the culture. And that first month was so essential for me, just to get to know, for me as well, what is culture? What is it that makes it tick? I know that I've done it before in previous roles, but it was time for me to focus on that. So I think definitely this role's allowed me to do that. Yeah.
So if I'm thinking about somebody might be listening to this and thinking, okay, well, how do I recognise that? And then if I recognise it, I don't know where you sit in your business. Are you just completely independent? Are you part of marketing? Are you part of HR? Are you part of operations? Where would you put that person and to give them that spread?
So I sit within the marketing team, and I think mainly the reason for that is because of internal communications, and the marketing team have been fantastic so far, and that they're really great support if I ever need help with any content, or if they've got events going on, what can I share, what can't I? So it works quite nicely for me in that team. And my sort of direct manager is part of the executive team. So I guess I sort of have more of a direct line of communication with sort of the bosses of the business, I guess. But I don't catch up with them, every week, let's say. It'll be sort of every month. I'll jump into a call with them and I'll say, hey, can you jump into our call today? And it's just, give me an update. How are you doing? How are the events doing? What can we help you with? How are the values getting on? Is there anything that we can give you content wise? So it's been a really great experience with that. And I think I've got the right line of communication with them in order for them to understand the direction we want to take it. And for me to understand, is it right for them? Because at the end of the day, we've got to work in partnership. So yeah, it's been good.
So during the pandemic, you guys have grown quite a lot, and you must have onboarded quite a few new members of the team who I don't know how many of them have ever met face to face and how you've dealt with that onboarding. Yeah. And I suppose, are you hiring more widely, like outside of Manchester? And I suppose, how is that going to affect the way you'll do your role going forward? I mean, because there's a real opportunity there, isn't there? But there's a challenge around, do talented individuals perform as well? When you put a team together, it's all about the collective output, isn't it?
Yeah. We have grown. We've hired over sort of 40 staff within the pandemic. So yeah, it's been a bit of an eye opener. I guess we've really sort of honed in on our onboarding and how we do that. And they'd never really fine-tuned it at Autocab. It was always very sort of ad hoc, or department heads would lead it. So I've said, look, I would like to be in charge of it, because this is where anybody onboarding, we need to inject our culture straight away and have them understand it, especially if they're virtual. So we do like a welcome week now. They have a welcome on the stand-up. So I guess that has been a key area of ensuring that those people feel like they're part of the team, I guess. And it's a good way to link people up virtually, on Teams. Like I'll say, drop into this call if you want. And I guess I'm that go-between. So that's been nice.
And with that change, you think, as you've been remote, you have an office, as you referred to, and obviously at some point, let's hope we can all come back to our offices and start to see each other. But, how, from a culture point of view, will you deal with, I suppose, that more hybrid working model, which lots of people are expecting, if there are people who will be very remote or virtual only? And I suppose looking then at kind of the challenge of some people having face-to-face relationships and being bonded in that office, and other people being more remote. And this is a challenge I think people all over the place are now realising is going to be quite tough.
Oh gosh, yeah, and it's a mammoth task for whoever's in charge of bringing everybody back. I feel you, but so I think previously you said we're looking to grow. Yes, we are looking to grow globally. We are going to be doing a hybrid model moving forward. We are going to be extending our sort of recruitment to different countries. And one of my tasks is, how does someone in the office get the same experience as someone at home? And I'm not going to lie, I think Autocab are a very good position, because they, previously to the pandemic, they were very much office-based. It was Monday to Friday, 9 till 5. That's how it worked. Everybody's had to get used to technology as a form of communication, and we're slowly getting there with that. Everybody's got used to meeting new people and new starters and managing teams virtually as well, and we're getting used to that. We've been acquired by Uber, which is a huge change. So the whole of the team know that there is a change, that there is going to be a change moving forward. They can see sort of more structure being implemented. So for me, I feel very confident in the fact that the way that the team's handled the change so far, I feel like they understand the journey a little bit more of where we're going. So we're in a good position with that. And I think, I don't think they had a bad culture before when they were all in the office. So when we do go back, I think there is going to be that sort of culture, but it's going to be exciting. Everybody's going to see each other. It's just about ensuring, I guess, those new starters feel a part of the team at the same time, which is going to be very hard to manage.
I mean, I think one of the challenges sometimes with those like office environments, isn't it, that they by their very nature of being a physical space, they create the culture. So, a team who all sit next to each other, inevitably more bonded than a team who sit on another floor or something like that. And there's a danger, of course, isn't it? You go back to the old environments and you think, and everybody just sort of goes back to their old ways again, because virtual communication is a great leveler, isn't it, of location and role and all that sort of thing. It removes barriers of like private offices and things like that. It can be really, really good. But equally, you've got to kind of embrace that people do want to see each other face to face. And I think then the challenge is, do you end up with two separate cultures? And that's something...
That's going to be hard to manage for sure. And sorry, the one thing that I didn't say is actually we are looking at having a different design in the office, or, just opening it up, not having everybody sat at their desk spots, and having more meeting rooms and breakout spaces and sort of chill out areas where people can catch up and have a meeting. And that's very key. I think you've got to have the right atmosphere for that to happen. And also, I keep saying to everybody, gosh, if we all went back in now, it would be so noisy when you're doing a meeting, because there's no sort of private spaces in the office at the moment. So, and they're all like, yeah, I don't think I could do it at all, because I've been sat in my, in my office at home, and so it's something to think about for sure. Yeah,
definitely. No, it's gonna be really, really interesting for so many businesses. It's all happening, isn't it? In the next few weeks, there's going to be for many people, there's a massive appetite to go back, and suddenly those changes are going to get pushed on everybody really, really quickly. It's going to be a fascinating time, I suppose.
Yeah.
So just to kind of round up, can I ask you a question just in terms of you? I mean, you've been in this role for, I don't know, like a year. You've been absolutely focused on it. What do you think, what do you think people are getting wrong about kind of like not fostering this kind of role? What are people just allowing to happen? And in terms of what are they, I suppose the question is really, what should they recognise in themselves where they think, oh, do you know what, I need to actually actively think about this?
Gosh, that's a good question, isn't it? I think it's just, for me, I guess that the level, how your teams are communicating is one thing. So you really need to look at how they're communicating. How products, for us, it was about sort of time management and time efficiency. So one thing that my executive team said is, we want work done on time. A lot of people are saying they're going to have it done next week, and it just gets pushed back and pushed back. And I said, that's an area for development. So for me, culture is involved with that. How can we help? Is it about how you communicate to that certain person? Is it that we need to look at how your language and how you're communicating that? So I guess it's looking at, the time management for the team as well as communication. If people are having fun, that's the main thing as well, and showing that they want to hang out with their team members. We're there 5 days of the week, if not more sometimes, so we want to enjoy it, we want to have fun. How your teams are, if you are in a period of growth as a company, are you attracting the right talent? That's one area that we're looking at the moment. So I'm developing the recruitment process. We want to get that really cool talent through and be really diverse at the same time. We're focusing on employing more women in the business at the moment. So that's an area where I think, you need to think, oh, maybe I do need someone looking at my culture a little bit. And I need to think, or just, I don't know, someone shouting about your culture and saying this is who we are, and being excited about it and driving it forward. So, I'd say that really.
Oh, that's good. The two things I'm going to take for that is to, shout and be proud about your culture.
Yeah.
And also, do people think about, when they're thinking about problems and issues in their business and they're thinking about process and workflows, are they laying culture as a part of the solution? And are they laying, thinking about how that would change the way that people kind of get that thing? Definitely. No, really, really interesting. Blimey, I could talk to you all day, Lucy.
Yes,
Really, it's such a fascinating transformation that you guys are going through. And clearly, it's a really interesting business, and your passion to kind of make it a really great place for people to work, it really comes through. So
thank
you for joining us. It's been really good to speak to you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.